Example 1.8 offers a trial run through the parrot game, and actually I'll throw in some other games of section length examples. So, for example, you'll listen to a section and then imitate it perfectly, and that will constitute the parrot game. But before we begin that, I want to ask you to tell me what you think the 5 most important goals are for playing the dialogue games. So I've written a list of 5 behind me, and a little clue for each one. Number 5, bullseye. Number 4, Back to the Future. Number 3, poets need it too. Number 2, kids have it in spades, or a lot of it. And number 1, I left completely blank. I'd like you to tell me what you think the most important goal is for playing the dialogue games. So I'll be back in a second after you've given it some thought, and I will reveal number 5, then 4, 3, 2, and finally number 1. The 5th goal is accuracy. Accuracy means that you're able to conceptualize what you hear and repeat it, as in the parrot game, or to produce some kind of a variation on it for the Q&A game, or the as-if game, or the word game, and so on and so forth. So accuracy, accurate reproduction of what you hear is very important, but it's the least important on the list of 5. So next we'll go to number 4. Goal number 4 is futurization, the ability to plan a section before you execute it. That is, form a mental concept of what you're about to play while you're playing the last concept that you futurized. So this is a skill that comes easily to some people and not so easily to other people, but it can be built up. And the dialogue games will enhance your ability to do this by pushing you to plan out the section before you play it. This term futurization, I first heard it in a book called Lyric Composition Through Improvisation by Friedrich Schlieder. It was written back in the 1920s. So, giving Friedrich Schlieder, the late Friedrich Schlieder, full credit for the word futurization. Very interesting book. Number 3 on the list of the top 5. Vocabulary. Now, remember the clue was poets need it too. If you can imagine writing poetry with a vocabulary of only 100 words, the things that you could write would be very limited. And similarly, with rhythm in this lesson and with aspects of harmony and melody in future lessons, you want to have as many words at your disposal as possible. What do I mean by words? Well, with rhythm, we're talking about 1-measure motives or 2-measure sections, and that's pretty much all, because the 4-measure phrase can be thought of as 2-measure sections. And beyond that, the segments would become so long as to be rather difficult to handle. So 1-measure ideas or 2-measure ideas as far as rhythm is concerned. And we'll leave the discussion of harmony and melody for later. But vocabulary is very important. You have to have these ready-made units of meaning available to plug in to the time space opened up by a rhythmic statement at will. Number 2 is the Willy Wonka factor, imagination, or its companion attribute, playfulness. I should think playfulness would permeate everything you do, but a rich imagination is vital to your ability to transcend the copyright barrier and write something completely new and different. So imagination is developed in the course of the dialogue games because you're pressed to think up original ideas when you're confronted with a problem in the Q&A or in the as if or in the word games. So even if you feel as if you have very little imagination right now, I should think by the time you finish playing the dialogue games for every lesson in Compose Yourself, you will have developed your imagination to a considerable degree, a degree that you might not even be able to imagine right now. And now for the number one goal in playing the dialogue games, getting in the zone. The zone is a term that has come up constantly in relation to sports. It also applies to improvisation in music or in other activities. But it means that you reach a state where you stand outside of yourself and your imagination is fully activated, and seemingly effortlessly the ideas flow and fit together into a seamless whole. So the zone, this magical state, is talked about a lot, but to try to force yourself into it is a contradiction in terms. You can't force yourself into the zone. But by playing the dialogue games, the constant effort to keep up with the drills as they go by forces you to get outside of yourself and enter the zone. So this is the number one goal, but you don't have to work at it because it will happen automatically. And then when you are composing songs, it's a state you'll slip into automatically because you'll have plenty of experience with it. Okay, a quick quiz. How many of the 5 goals do you remember, and can you name off the top of your head? Let's review them just for a second here. Number 5, least important but very important, is accuracy. Number 4, futurization, the ability to look into the future while you're playing the last thing that you futurized. Number 3, vocabulary. That's having a wide range of ideas ready-made to plug in or to plug in a variation of the idea. Vocabulary. Number 2, imagination, which goes along with playfulness. Playfulness being something you want to introduce throughout the list. Imagination. Getting in the zone. Number 1. And like I said, you don't have to work at this one. It's just going to happen as a routine part of the dialogue drills. So you don't even need to think about it. You just have to do the dialogue drills for a few minutes each day, and pretty soon getting in the zone will become a natural part of your creative process.